The cold wind howled over the surface of the alien moon, sweeping dust and ash into the air like a silent storm. The sky above was a dull orange, with two small suns fading behind jagged mountain peaks. The land was broken, full of sharp rocks, and ancient war machines buried under the ground. Kai stumbled forward, clutching his side where his ship's crash had left a sharp piece of metal in his suit. His helmet was cracked, oxygen was low. His mission to explore this unclaimed moon had gone terribly wrong. Now he was alone, lost and injured, with no way to call for help. Each step was harder than the last, his vision blurred. But just as he thought he'd collapse, he saw something. Light. A blue flicker, then the shadow of a fire. A chance. With the last of his strength, Kai crawled over the ridge and fell face first into soft, warm soil. Before blacking out, he saw a tall figure in armor walking toward him, eyes glowing softly in the dark. When Kai woke up, he was inside a strange shelter made of metal and bones. It was warmer. His side was wrapped tightly with cloth and herbs that gave off a strange scent. His hands were tied, but gently. His helmet was off and breathable air filled the space. Across from him stood a tall alien woman. Her skin was smooth but tough, a deep silver gray. Her hair was braided tightly and held by metal bands. Her armor was scratched and worn, proof of many battles. Her eyes were bright gold and filled with something strange. Not anger, not fear. Curiosity. "You are not a soldier," she said. Her voice was deep, clear, and commanding. Kai blinked a few times. "No, I'm an explorer, a technician. My ship crashed." She studied him closely as if reading every muscle in his face. "You should not be here, human. This moon is sacred to my people." Kai sat up slowly, wincing in pain. "I didn't know. I swear. I was just scouting planets. I didn't mean to trespass." The warrior didn't respond at first. She turned away and stirred a bowl over the fire. The smell was strong but not unpleasant. "You are lucky I found you before the wildlings did," she said. "They eat the weak." Kai tried to smile. "Then I guess I owe you my life." She didn't smile back. Instead, she turned and stared at him again. "You are strange, human. I expected fear. Yet you speak calmly, and you look directly into my eyes." Kai chuckled weakly. "Well, it's hard to be afraid of someone who saved me." She tilted her head slightly. "I did not save you. I only stopped you from dying before I could question you." Kai looked at her again, this time more carefully. Despite her armor and fierce look, she wasn't ugly. Not at all. There was something powerful about her presence, the way she stood, the shape of her eyes, the way she moved with confidence and purpose. "You're beautiful," he said without thinking. The warrior froze. She stepped closer. "What did you say?" Kai realized his mistake but didn't take it back. "I said, you're beautiful." Silence filled the shelter. The alien warrior stood over him, her golden eyes sharp. Her hand rested on the hilt of her blade. "Why do you call me that, human?" Kai swallowed. "Because it's true." She narrowed her eyes. "To you, beauty must mean soft skin, bright colors, smiling faces. I am none of those. My people are warriors. We do not paint our faces or chase praise. We fight, we survive." Kai nodded. "Maybe. But beauty isn't just about looks, it's about presence, strength, the way you carry yourself, the way you helped me when you didn't have to." She looked away, almost uncomfortable. "No one calls me that," she said quietly. Kai smiled. "Then I'm honored to be the first." That night, as the wind howled again outside, the warrior sat at the edge of the fire, sharpening her blade. She didn't speak much, but her eyes kept glancing toward the human. Kai, still weak, tried to stay awake. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked at him for a long moment, then finally answered, "Jiraiya. That's a beautiful name, too." She shook her head, almost annoyed. "You say that word too easily." "I say it when I mean it," Kai replied. Jiraiya stared at the fire, Your kind is strange. You use words like gifts. My kind uses silence like armor. Kai shrugged. Maybe that's why the stars are so quiet. They're full of warriors like you. Jiraiya turned to him surprised. For the first time, her expression softened. Just a little. Outside, a howl rang through the night. Jiraiya stood at once, blade in hand. She moved like a shadow, silent and sure. Kai tried to rise, but she pointed at him. Stay down. It's not safe. What is it? Scouts. Possibly wildlings. They smell weakness. Kai's heart pounded. He couldn't fight. He could barely stand. But Jiraiya stood between him and the outside, tall and unshaken. In that moment, Kai didn't see a monster. He didn't see an alien. He saw a shield, a protector. And even as fear crept into his heart, he smiled, because the one guarding him had once been called beautiful. And maybe now she'd start to believe it. Jiraiya moved like a silent hunter through the dark. The wind outside roared louder now, and sharp shadows danced along the rocky walls of her shelter. Her hand gripped her blade tightly, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim firelight. She listened. No footsteps, no breathing, only the cold wind. She slowly stepped back inside. Kai was still sitting, breathing heavily, watching her. Is it safe? He asked. For now, Jiraiya answered, sliding the blade back into its sheath. But they're close, we must be ready to move. Kai nodded, though he knew he wasn't ready to move anywhere. His ribs hurt, his leg burned. He could barely walk without help. Jiraiya seemed to notice. You cannot run, she said, and I do not leave the weak behind. Kai gave a small smile. That's kind of you. It is not kindness, she said flatly. It is my duty. I am a warrior of honor. She walked to the back of the shelter and pulled open a metal crate. Inside were old tools, broken weapons, and something that caught Kai's eye, a damaged communication beacon. Kai pointed to it. That's a signal unit. Jiraiya glanced at him. It is useless, dead for years. Maybe, but if I can fix it, I might be able to send a signal to my ship, or at least someone who can help. Jiraiya stepped back and crossed her arms. You are too weak, and you are not a soldier. Kai chuckled softly. No, but I'm an engineer. I fix things. Let me try. She watched him carefully, then gave a short nod. If you fail, we waste time. If you succeed, perhaps you are more than you appear. Jiraiya brought the unit closer to the fire. Kai examined it closely. Wires were melted, and the power core was nearly drained. But the structure was solid. You have anything I can use? Spare metal, wire, old parts? Jiraiya nodded. Stay there. She disappeared outside for a few minutes and returned with a handful of scrap, parts from old drones and armor pieces. Kai got to work slowly. His hands trembled at first, but as the minutes passed, he found his rhythm. He rewired the beacons, circuits, replaced the damaged power cell with a small energy pack from a broken drone, and carefully connected the signal dish. Jiraiya sat nearby, quietly watching. She didn't interrupt, but her gaze stayed on him. You work with focus, she said at last. Kai didn't look up. That's how I survive. Fixing things is what I'm good at. She tilted her head. My people admire strength, not clever hands. Kai smiled. Maybe that's why we're different. Humans survive because we adapt, not because we're strong. Jiraiya didn't answer, but something in her eyes changed. Just a little. Hours passed. The storm outside died down. Kai finished the last connection and flipped a switch. The small beacon blinked. Jiraiya stood. It lives? Kai nodded. It's weak, but it's sending a pulse. Maybe someone will hear it. She looked impressed, but didn't say it aloud. Instead, she stood and walked to the shelter door. We will move at dawn. This place is no longer safe. You'll need to be strong enough to travel. Kai looked down at his injured leg. I'll try. Jiraiya looked at him again. You're not as weak as you think. The next morning, the wind had softened. The sky was clearer, and distant mountains glowed under the twin suns. Jiraiya helped Kai to his feet and handed him a carved, wooden staff to lean on. They moved slowly. Jiraiya carried most of the supplies while Kai limped along beside her, using the staff and his stubborn willpower. As they walked, he asked, "Why do you live out here alone?" She was quiet for a moment, then answered, "I was once part of a war band. We followed orders. We hunted. We fought across stars, but one day I refused a command. I spared a village instead of burning it." Kai blinked. "You showed mercy. They called it weakness. I called it honor. So I left. Came here. To the moon of the ancients." Kai stared at her with new respect. "You have more honor than anyone I've ever met." She didn't reply, but her steps slowed. After a long silence, she said, "No one ever said that to me before." By afternoon, they found an old outpost half buried in the sand. Jiraiya broke the lock and pushed the doors open. Inside was dusty but secure, metal walls, an old table, and a half-working generator. Kai collapsed onto a bench, breathing hard. Jiraiya checked the perimeter, then sat across from him. "You still call me beautiful," she said suddenly. Kai looked at her. "Because you are." She frowned, confused. "Even now, dirty from travel, hair unwashed, armor cracked, how can you say such things?" Kai smiled gently. "You risked your life for someone you just met. You believe in honor. You protect the weak. That's beauty to me." Jiraiya looked away. "My people don't value such things." "Then maybe they're blind," Kai said. For the first time, her lips twitched, just slightly, as if she almost smiled. Later that night, they sat by a small fire inside the outpost. The beacon continued to blink softly. Outside, the sky shimmered with stars. Jiraiya sharpened her blade slowly, but her eyes were distant. "I do not understand your kind," she said. "That's okay," Kai replied. "We don't understand each other at first. But maybe we can learn." She looked at him for a long time, her golden eyes thoughtful. "Maybe." The outpost remained quiet through the night. Only the soft crackling of the fire and the steady blinking of the repaired beacon gave signs of life. Jiraiya stayed awake longer than Kai. She sat in silence, eyes on the door, sword resting across her lap. She was thinking, not about the dangers outside, but about the human resting on the bench behind her. No one had ever looked at her the way he did. Not as a weapon, not as a tool, but as something human. When morning came, the first rays of sunlight pushed through the cracks in the old metal walls. Kai stirred awake, rubbing his eyes and groaning, slightly as pain reminded him of his wounds. "Still alive," he muttered. Jiraiya turned her head slightly. "You slept like a child." "I haven't felt this safe in days," he said with a grin. "Guess it's the company." She said nothing, but the corner of her mouth twitched. Just slightly. Later that day, Kai worked again on the beacon. The signal was still weak but stable. He added a makeshift antenna using a bent spear and spare wiring. Jiraiya, meanwhile, explored the old outpost. She checked for supplies, traps, or signs of recent visitors. When she returned, her expression was tight. "We are not alone." Kai stood up slowly. "What do you mean?" "Tracks. Fresh. Too many for wild beasts." Kai's heart pounded. "Could it be your people?" Jiraiya shook her head. "No, they are outcasts, wildlings. They have no honor, no code. They kill for sport." Kai swallowed hard. "Then we need to leave." Jiraiya looked toward the horizon. "They travel fast. We may not outrun them." She drew her blade. "But I can face them." "No." Kai stepped forward, his voice shaking. "You'll be outnumbered." She looked at him calmly. "I've fought worse. This is what I was made for." Kai stared at her, chest heavy. "Let me help." She raised a brow. "You can barely stand." "Then I'll stand behind you," he said. "I won't let you face them alone." Jiraiya blinked, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she nodded. They prepared as best they could. Jiraiya set traps around the outpost, wires tied to sharp metal scraps, makeshift alarms, and pressure plates linked to small explosives Kai built from old drone parts. Kai charged an energy pulse in the beacon, hoping it might catch the attention of passing satellites. As the sun dipped low, shadows stretched across the land. Then they came. Figures moved on the horizon, tall, savage warriors with spiked armor and glowing red eyes. They howled and beat weapons together as they approached. Kai's breath caught. There were at least 6 of them. Jiraiya stood in front of the door, blade in hand, unmoved. "Kai," she said, her voice low. "Stay behind me." "I will," he said softly, "but not too far." The first trap triggered. A wildling stepped on a pressure plate. A loud crack split the air, and 2 enemies flew backward in a flash of light and sand. Jiraiya moved like lightning. She met the others with her blade flashing, her armor clashing against theirs. Every swing of her sword was precise. Every step was powerful. She was a storm in metal. Kai crouched behind the beacon platform, holding a small shock emitter. It wasn't much, but it was something. One of the wildlings broke past Jiraiya and charged him. Kai waited until the last second, then fired the shock emitter. The wildling jerked, muscles locking as the electric burst surged through him. He dropped to the floor with a thud. Jiraiya turned, eyes wide with surprise, but only for a second. Then she spun and knocked another enemy's weapon from his hand. They fought as a team, not perfect, not trained, but something more powerful had formed between them. Trust. Finally, the last wildling fled into the hills. Jiraiya stood still, chest rising and falling, her blade stained with battle. She had small cuts across her arm, but she looked proud, strong. Kai limped toward her, breathing hard. "You okay?" he asked. Jiraiya nodded. "Yes. You?" He grinned. "Still alive?" She looked at him, eyes softer now. "You were brave." He shrugged. "You said I wasn't weak." She reached forward and touched his shoulder gently. "I was right." That night they sat together in the outpost, close to the fire. Kai wrapped Jiraiya's arm with clean cloth, careful not to press too hard. She watched him, her eyes unreadable, again. "You fought even though you had no training," she said. "I couldn't let you face them alone," Kai replied. "You had no reason to care, yet you did." Kai looked at her. "Isn't that what makes us human?" Jiraiya was silent for a long moment. Then softly she asked again, "Why do you still call me beautiful?" Kai paused, meeting her eyes. "Because you fought with honor. Because you protected life, not just pride. Because you made me feel safe when I should have been afraid." Jiraiya turned her face slightly. Not out of shame, but confusion. The kind that comes from hearing something new, something unexpected, something warm. "No one ever said such things to me." "They should have," Kai said gently. Outside, the beacon blinked again, brighter this time. A signal had been picked up. Someone was coming. But Jiraiya didn't look away from Kai. She sat quietly, her sword laid aside for the first time in days, and in her golden eyes, something changed. Something opened. For the first time in many days, the morning felt calm. The wind outside the outpost had quieted. The suns were rising slowly over the broken horizon. Inside, the beacon pulsed with steady blue light. Someone had received the signal. Jiraiya stood. At the window, her armor still scratched from the fight. Her face was calm, but her eyes were thoughtful. Kai sat nearby, fixing a small energy lamp with careful hands. His wounds were healing. Though he still limped, his spirit was stronger than ever. "Someone is coming," he said, glancing at the beacon. "I think we'll be rescued soon." Jiraiya nodded. "Yes, but not just humans." Kai looked up. "What do you mean?" "My people monitor this moon. If they hear the signal, they will come too." He frowned. "Will they help you?" Jiraiya turned, her face unreadable. "No. They will test me." Later that day, a sound filled the sky. A ship, sleek and dark, descended from the clouds and landed a short distance from the outpost. Jiraiya straightened. Her hand rested on her sword, not to draw it, but to show she was ready. 4 armored figures stepped out of the ship. Their armor was sharp and shining, their faces hidden behind silver masks. They carried long weapons and walked with discipline. One of them spoke in a firm voice. "Jiraiya of the Bladed Moon, you broke the code. You left your squad. You spared enemies. You live with an outsider." "I followed my own code," Jiraiya replied calmly. "Then prove your strength," the leader said. "A trial of honor. You and your challenger. 1 battle. 1 blade." Jiraiya nodded once. "Who stands against me?" From behind the others, a tall figure stepped forward. His name was Rorak. He was once her squad's commander, and the one who had ordered the destruction of the peaceful village. He had hated her defiance ever since. "I will break your pride," Rorak growled, "and this time no humans will save you." Jiraiya said nothing. She removed her shoulder armor and stepped into the dusty clearing, sword in hand. Kai stood, near the ship, surrounded by the silent guards. He wanted to yell, to argue, to stop the fight. But he knew this was her world, her trial. She turned to look at him once and he nodded, quietly giving his strength to her. The battle began. Rorak charged like a beast, his sword swinging with deadly power. Jiraiya dodged, moving like wind, not meeting his rage with rage. She blocked, turned, struck once, but not to kill. She fought with control. Rorak snarled. "You've grown weak." Jiraiya didn't answer. She stepped aside from another heavy blow and cut his leg. Not deep, just enough to make him stumble. "You confuse strength with violence," she said. He roared and lunged, blade high. Jiraiya ducked under his arm and struck again. This time, knocking his weapon from his hand, she held her blade to his throat. The guard stepped forward, but Jiraiya raised her hand. "I do not kill the defeated," she said. "Not today. Not anymore." Rorak growled but stayed still. Jiraiya stepped back. The leader of the guards lowered his head. "You win. By skill and by restraint." Jiraiya turned to Kai, her face calm. Not all battles must end in death. After the trial, the guards spoke quietly among themselves. Rorak was taken away, injured but alive. Jiraiya stood with her head high. Kai walked up beside her. "You could have killed him," she nodded. "Yes, but then I would be just like him." Kai smiled. "You were amazing." Jiraiya looked at him. "Your words gave me strength." He blinked. "Mine? When I fought before, it was always with anger, but this time I fought with purpose. Because of what you showed me." Kai's heart beat faster. "What did I show you?" She looked up at the sky. "That strength can protect, not just destroy. That honor is more than following orders." That night, a small fire burned again at the edge of the outpost. The guards had left, giving Jiraiya recognition as a free warrior, not banished, not punished. She had a choice now. To return home, to command, or to walk a new path. Kai sat across from her, the stars above shining softly. "Will you go back to them?" he asked. "I'm not sure," she said. "I once thought my place was among warriors. But now," she looked at him, her golden eyes, reflecting the firelight. "I wonder if there's more to life than war." Kai smiled. "There is. I'll show you." She tilted her head. "On Earth?" He shrugged. "Or wherever we go next." Jiraiya was quiet, then asked once more, "Why do you still call me beautiful?" Kai didn't smile this time. He looked directly at her and said, "Because you chose mercy over pride. Because you fought with heart, not hate. Because you found a way to be strong and kind." Jiraiya didn't look away, and this time she smiled, not small, not hidden, a real smile. The stars above them whispered of distant worlds, of battles, of peace, and of choices still to come. But in that moment, the Warrior and the human sat together not as enemies or strangers, but as something new, as something hopeful. The day was bright and clear when Kai prepared to leave the outpost. The twin suns shone warmly over the rocky landscape. His ship, fixed enough for a short trip, waited patiently near the landing zone. Jiraiya stood beside him, her armor clean, now her expression calm but serious. "This is where our paths separate," Kai said softly, adjusting his pack. Jiraiya looked out across the horizon. "You will return to your people." Kai nodded. "Yes, but I will not forget this place, or you." She turned to face him. "And I will not forget you, human." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Kai asked quietly, "Will you come with me? To Earth?" Jiraiya shook her head. "I cannot. My people expect me to lead, to protect them. But I have changed. I want to build peace, not war." Kai smiled gently. "Maybe you can do both." She smiled back, softer this time. "I will try." Before Kai stepped into his ship, Jiraiya reached out and touched his arm. "Why do you still call me beautiful?" Kai looked at her, eyes full of warmth. "Because you are more than a warrior. You are a leader, a protector, and a hope. You fought for mercy when others fought for pride. That is true beauty." Jiraiya's eyes shimmered. For the first time, she believed those words, not as a compliment, but as truth. Kai stepped inside his ship and sealed the door. As the engines roared to life, Jiraiya watched until the ship rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. Days passed. Jiraiya returned to her people, but she was not the same warrior they once knew. She spoke of peace and understanding. She used her strength to protect, not to conquer. Her people resisted at first. "Why trust a human?" they asked. But Jiraiya stood firm. "Humans showed me that strength is more than weapons. It is mercy, honor, and hope." Slowly, the warrior, princess changed minds. Months later, Kai received a message, a simple star map and a note. "A new path begins. Come when you are ready. Jiraiya." Kai smiled. The universe was vast, full of dangers and wonders. But now, he was not alone. Under distant stars, a human and an alien warrior walked side by side. Two different worlds united by respect, courage, and the belief that beauty is found in strength of heart.